Welcome to another edition of the Panthers Courtside Report, talking Milwaukee Panther women's basketball. Matt Menzel alongside head coach Kyle Recklitz. And coach, right now the theme with this team, battle. And it's all about going into battle, and that's what this team did this past week with 3 road games over the course of 5 days.
Yeah, our staff, we thought long and hard after a couple losses. When you lose those games in a row, your team's confidence level, and you're just trying to make sure that we're all in a good place. So we wanted to come up with a really good theme for the last 5 games of the conference schedule. So we came up with this concept of we're going to war. We got them all like Army fatigue hats, that we wear around to the gyms, and we created this board that kind of represents, like our battleship board. And our team is really focused on it. They're locked in. We've come up with our own little motto, like Army motto, and it's going really well because they really are so focused about winning each and every game, and one game at a time.
This team was battle-tested, as mentioned, this past week, as the Panthers enter the week now with 19 victories, 9 defeats, currently 10-6 in the bunched-up Horizon League, tied for 4th with Wright State, but just 3 games back at Cleveland State, a team the Panthers on a tiebreaker over. And let's talk about this road trip, the 3 games, the pro-like schedule over the course of 5 days that began Thursday. Heck of a battle, tough 1-point overtime loss at Youngstown State. Game featured 8 ties, but 17 lead changes back and forth the battle went, and eventually it came down to free throw shooting and then overtime for the Penguins.
Yeah, as we were entering the game, I really believe that Youngstown was the hottest team in the league coming into the game. They had won 7 out of their last 8. They were just playing extremely well. They had, ball movement on the outside with their shooters. I think their freshman, Chelsea Olsen, has really stepped up. I think she's won like 5 Freshman of the Week honors in a row. And then they've got, whether if it's Cash, then it's done, or if it's done, then it's Cash. It's one of the 2 big centers on the inside. So we knew it was going to be a really tough game. I thought we actually played exceptionally well. We scored well. We just couldn't finish out with a victory on the road.
Came down at times like a 3-point shooting contest in which Youngstown State knocked down 12 threes. The Panthers had a season best 11 threes, but as you and I talked about on the road trip, not so much just the 3-point shot falling, but it was a number of players that were hitting that 3-point shot.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a variety, both from our team and from their team, so it makes both of us equally tough to defend. And the crazy thing is, looking at how the standings are coming out, there's a chance we could play them in the Horizon League tournament too, which is kind of scary because they're just playing so well. But I think the key in that game was actually fouls. And we fouled way too much on the road. We lost both Steph Kostowitz and Brandy Bisping in the overtime, and that hurts because both of them were having exceptional games.
Yeah, Steph Kostowitz came through with a season best of 28 points, 23 of which came from halftime on. Jenny Linder came through with a double-double performance, and you mentioned Brandy Bisping, a career best of 10 points, also had her first career double-double. She added 11 rebounds, but you mentioned the free throw shooting in Youngstown State, 8 of their 12 points in overtime from the free throw line. So from Thursday to Saturday at the Wolstein Center, Cleveland State, the site, and a Panther come from behind victory, 69-63. And let's forget about that first half, because it was all about the third quarter. Not much adjustments by way of the game plan, but just mentally refocus, re-energize in that third quarter.
Yeah, the first half was not very fun to watch from the sideline or from your perspective either, I'm sure. We were very flat. We didn't move the basketball. It's not that we weren't playing hard. That's what I was trying to get across to our team. It's not that we weren't playing hard. We just weren't playing efficient. And we seemed to be questioning ourselves quite a bit. So at halftime, it was another one of those nice little halftime talks. I'm sure nice is probably not the right word, but we'll pretend like it was a nice one. And I didn't have anything on my board. There wasn't adjustments to be made other than the attitude that we played with, and it was fun. That third quarter was unreal to watch. I felt like I was at a movie watching a highlight film. We just kept hitting shots, and the ball was hitting the right people's hands. I think there were 6 different people that scored during the run, which was really cool because it wasn't like it was one person that took over. It was definitely a fun third quarter.
31 points in that third quarter. That's a season best for points in a quarter, and the Panthers hit their first 10 shots, going 10 for 12 from the field, and hit 5 threes as well in that third. Another strong 3-point shooting performance. Jenny Linder had a monster performance. Steph Kostowitz had her 30th career double-double. Also of note, Jamie Wright, 16 points for a second straight game against Cleveland State. Some of the numbers that jump out, but when we look at the defense in that game, too, shutting down Ashanti Abshaw. She came in second in the Horizon League in scoring, and she had just 4 points on 1 for 7 shooting.
Well, we actually, going into the game, I made the decision that I wanted to try a new defense, and we had a 1-day prep with it. I think it re-energized our team a little bit, especially again after losing, 2 nights before. So we locked into it, and we put ourselves in a position to be really successful. And part of the game plan was to put Bailey Farley on Ashanti and not let her touch the ball. And that worked really well. Bailey is such an unreal defender. I mean, she doesn't get credit for it at all because you don't get to see those. There's no statistics that talk about, like, you know, who's locked into their best player. But game in and game out, she's always guarding the best guard on the other team, and she did an excellent job.
And it's crazy to think, too, when you look at that matchup, down by as many as 11 points, it's the 4th consecutive win over the Vikings in which the team had to overcome at least an 11-point deficit. So even though they have taken some sizable advantages, you guys aren't waving that white flag.
Never, never. I mean, and our team doesn't do that anyway. There's not been a game this season, really, where I felt like we've actually fully quit. We haven't always come back and won them, like the NKU game. We didn't get all the way to the finish to win it, but we don't quit. You know, I mean, sometimes they just need a little kick, you know, to get moving in the right direction.
Well, in a little bit, we'll talk about the victory against second-place IUPUI, but when we come back here on the Panthers Courtside Report, we talk with Panthers sophomore Jamie Wright. Stay tuned. You're tuned into the Panthers Courtside Report.
The Horizon League men's and women's basketball championships invade Little Caesars Arena March 2nd through 6th with an NCAA tournament automatic bid at stake. Don't miss your chance to see elite college basketball action as all 10 Horizon League teams battle for conference bragging rights. Fans can reserve their seat by contacting their university box office today. For more information, visit horizonleague.com. Experience Motor City Madness at Little Caesars Arena March 2nd through 6th.
Welcome back to the Panthers Courtside Report and being joined by Panthers sophomore Jamie Wright. And let's start right from the get-go with the buzzer beater back on January 13th and knocking off the Youngstown State Penguins. We had Jenny Linder on this show a couple of weeks back, and she gave us her account of that final possession. What do you remember? You hit the game-winning shot. What do you remember from being on the baseline in front of that loose basketball?
The play was drawn up for Steph, and I just remember they kind of double-teamed her, so she tried to make that pass to Jenny, who was filling the lane. And it slipped out of Jenny's hand, it got tipped, and it just rolled right to me, and I was like, oh gosh, I know there's only a certain amount of time left, so I threw it up there as fast as I could, and it went in. So
did it feel good leaving your hands?
It did. It didn't feel like a sloppy shot, even though I felt rushed. It didn't feel like sloppy, but I was so excited when it went in.
Now, I heard a rumor that you didn't know that was the game-winning shot. You thought you had sent the game to
yes,
overtime.
I thought that we were going into overtime, and I was like, and then people are like, Jamie, you just won for us, and I was like, what? Oh my God. But yeah, it was exciting.
So how do you think your sophomore year is going thus far?
I think it's going really well. It's been fun to start and play a big role on the team, but yeah, I think it's going well.
We talked about that. Is there a big preparation difference between starting versus being one of the first 2 players off the bench?
In my opinion, no. I think you should have the same role, whether you're starting or whether you're coming off the bench. You provide the same thing, but yeah, I don't know. I think just being consistent with that.
Do you have a pregame routine or a ritual? Do you follow a certain pattern before a game?
I usually just listen to music.
Any particular music?
More like pump-up music.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you talk about your role, and do you feel like it's changed dramatically? Outside of just being a starter versus a reserve player, do you feel like your role on this team this year has changed a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm more of a scorer now, to be a scoring threat on the offensive side, but as well on the defensive side, just getting stops.
So what was your then off-season focus, knowing that maybe you would be relied upon more for scoring? Did you put a lot more into finding different ways to score as opposed to shooting 3-ball?
Yeah, I think what I worked on a lot was driving the lane, finishing with contact, being more of a three-dimensional scorer rather than just being able to shoot the 3, but also working on my defense, being able to keep people in front of me.
I do think it's fitting. Your first career bucket as a Panther was a 3-point shot at Loyola. Have you always been a 3-point assassin? Have you always been a 3-point threat?
Yeah, in high school, especially my freshman year, I was a little more timid, and I just really relied on my 3-point shot. I just kind of hovered around that 3-point line, and I was like, pass me the ball, and would just shoot the 3 mostly. But as I progressed into sophomore, junior, senior year of high school, that's when I kind of saw more of my game being driving as well, pull-up game. So yeah, I think 3 has always been like a major part of my scoring.
And we saw the variety of ways you can score in the victory against IUPUI on Monday. That great spin fadeaway shot working in that fourth quarter. That spin fadeaway shot, is that something you've always been able to master?
Kind of. I've never practiced it a lot. It just is something I do. I just spin around, shoot it, and it goes in. So I've never worked on that with a coach or even by myself. I've never just let's spin around, fade away. It's just something that I do, I guess.
Well, you've had some big performances this season, and one of the big ones coming back on February 3rd. You had a career high 18 points against Northern Kentucky, in which you knocked down 4 threes. And I understand that you had friends and family from Stanley in the stands for that matchup against Northern Kentucky.
Yeah, there was a big fan section there for me, which I was so grateful and happy to see that my hometown is still supporting me throughout college. And yeah, I was really appreciative of them coming.
Now, following that game, I got to bring up, okay, you only took a couple of shots in back-to-back games, and I know you challenged yourself a little bit, okay,
yeah.
maybe a couple of tough games. So how do you go about, okay, you have to have obviously a short-term memory, but what did you do then going into that Cleveland State game? How did you go about challenging yourself to say, hey, I have to be more aggressive if we're going to be successful?
Yeah, I was really frustrated with myself at first, but that's when I knew I had to change my mindset and use that frustration as motivation. Just to look for my shot more, and do my part on both ends of the court, not just on offense.
And it paid off. 16 points against Cleveland State for a second straight meeting, and 10 points against IUPUI, including 8 in the huge fourth quarter. So take us right now in that locker room. I know you're playing with confidence these last couple of games. How about as a team? How confident is this group right now?
I think we're very confident. You know, we don't like being labeled that comeback team. It's a big thing we've talked about. So I think going into that IUPUI game, we learned from the first half of Cleveland State that we need to come out a lot stronger, and I think we did that. So our confidence level right now is, I think, great.
And it was a challenging schedule, playing 3 road games in a 5-day stretch. Was it challenging from a playing standpoint I mean, it was basketball nonstop for about a week away from campus?
I don't think so. I think being away from campus just seems like our focus is a lot more on basketball, just because we don't have to worry about going to class. Even though it is tough missing class, our focus is more on basketball on the road.
Just finally, a couple of games left in the regular season before the focus turns to Motor City Madness. If this team is to make a run in the tournament, in your opinion, what needs to happen? How do you guys go about trying to bring home that tournament championship?
Like I said before, not being that comeback team, coming out from the start, playing like we can, like we came out the second half of Cleveland State game.
All right, Jamie, thanks for your time.
Thank you,
Congratulations so far, and best of luck the rest of the way. And that's sophomore Jamie Wright. When we come back here on the Panthers Courtside Report, I'll be rejoined by head coach Kyle Recklett. Stay tuned or tune into the Panthers Courtside Report. Welcome back to the Panthers Courtside Report, and being rejoined by Panther head coach Kyle Recklett. And we just talked with sophomore Jamie Wright, and what a second collegiate season she's been able to put together.
Oh, it's just fun watching her play. You know, I mean, she's so capable in every single category. I mean, she can rebound, she can shoot, she can put the ball on the floor and drive. I think she has the best pull-up in our league. I just think she's got an incredible pull-up jump shot, especially out of transition. And then she defends. You know, so it's nice to have such a complete player, knowing that we have her for the rest of the season and also for 2 more years.
And we saw a variety of ways in which she can score in that matchup against IUPUI on Monday. It was a great win for the Panthers, knocking off second place IUPUI from the jungle, 67-60. And Jamie Wright had 10 points, all came in the second half. And she had some clutch buckets in that fourth, in which she had 8 points in the fourth.
Yeah, that fourth quarter, I mean, she put the team on her back, you know, and that's great when you can have a sophomore that do that, especially when you have 4 seniors that are usually leading the way. So she took control and hit some huge shots. She got into the paint, made a nice little turnaround jump shot. One thing that we really needed was to start getting into their paint, and she was just playing, and she wasn't thinking, and that's something that we've got to get her to all the time, is to keep that confidence going.
Yeah, besides Jamie Wright, Jenny Linder, Steph Costa was doing what they do best and score inside. But then also Michaela Schmelzer coming through with a 10-point performance, her 4th double-figure scoring performance of the year. And she was able to knock down a couple of threes, and it seems like she's found her confidence when it comes to that 3-point shot on this road trip.
She had, you know, we've been working on it the last 2 weeks really hard. Her and I have been in the gym with Coach Carter quite a bit, and we've just been working on this lift concept of really getting the ball up. She's actually a really good shooter when she's got a hand in her face. It's when somebody's not guarding her and she has to aim it that she really her percentage goes down. So we just keep telling her to work on pretending like somebody's always in front of you, no matter whether you're open or not open. Just fake it, fake it like somebody's standing there. And that's really helped her shot. Even, the last few games before we hit this road trip, I mean, they were just rimming out. Mm-hmm. We knew she was on the brink of figuring it out, and now she seems to have gotten that confidence, which is great.
This is one of those games against IUPUI in which, you look at points in the paint. Besides Michaela Schmeltz, who knocked down a couple of threes. Threes were hard to come by. Free throws were hard to come by. Getting to the free throw line, non-existent in the first half, and so points in the paint, when we talk about the presence of Steph Kosowicz and Jenny Linder, they were enormous. Points in the paint were enormous in this victory.
Yeah, and even right down the stretch, Bailey Farley getting in there and getting an offensive rebound. That was one of the things we talked about in the timeout, was just they're letting us play. I mean, both teams, it was a very physical game. Neither team was in foul trouble. And when we hit the fourth quarter and we only had one foul with about 6 minutes to go, I told our team, I was like, take it to them. I was like, we can give up a couple fouls on some offensive rebounds, so we need to get some boards. And Jenny, Steph, Bailey, all three of those seniors took that very, very much to heart.
All right, so the Milwaukee Panthers have wrapped up their regular season road schedule. Now they are home for back-to-back games to end this regular season. Detroit Mercy, a couple of wins against UIC, will be the opponent Friday at 7 o'clock. And this is a Titans team. They're a scrappy bunch, and the record may not indicate it, but it's a team that, just trying to find a way to go over that hump and put together a complete game performance. They certainly have the talent.
They do absolutely have the talent. They've got, an inside presence in Cohen. They've got outside presence, and they have a freshman, Lexi Tobel, who's playing very well. Their shooter, Ajay, is playing a lot better. And then they actually have number 10, their point guard, Jackson, who gave us fits when we were at their place. And when we played them on the road, we didn't have Steph Kosowicz. That was one of the games right after the Oakland game where she'd gotten injured and had to sit out. And so defensively we were hurting a little bit. But I think our team is really feeling some confidence right now, and I hope that we can channel that into a couple more wins this weekend.
Yeah, a big one, as we mentioned during the first segment. The standings right now are bunched together, a number of teams within a game or half a game of one another, and so there's still a lot of jockeying for tournament positioning here in this final week of the season. Then from Detroit Mercy on Friday to Oakland coming up on Sunday for a 2 o'clock tip. And that's a team that's kind of struggled a little bit as of late, but we know they're a capable bunch too with a lot of experience.
And a lot of scoring. Yeah. I mean, that's who they are, is they can put up big numbers. They're one of the teams that, I always think they have a chance against Green Bay because of how confident they are and how they can just come down and they take really quick first pass threes. And so our transition defense has got to be really good this weekend against both teams, but especially against Oakland. And we've just really got to lock into the game plans. I was really impressed how we played at Oakland last time. I know it was a pretty large margin of victory for us there, which normally doesn't happen against Oakland, but we played a very good game. So we've got to try to, emulate that now at home.
It is also senior day, and so the 4 seniors will be honored prior to the game. What have the seniors meant to you, to this program, as they have the ability to leave here as the all-time winners class in the program's D1 history?
You would ask that and make me almost tear up. This class is amazing. It's really, when I look back at our recruiting from the beginning, bringing Steph and Jenny in and Kelsey in that class together was just huge for us. And we knew that we were going to kind of build something really special up to when they were seniors. Then we added Bailey Farley to the mix after the first year, and she had to sit with her transfer year. But the 4 of them together, they work so well together. They truly are a family. The 4 of them, they'll get into it like sisters, but then on the court, they're fighting together, fighting for a championship together. And I'm just proud of just how they've changed our culture and how they've made us, what I consider Milwaukee basketball.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot for your time. Best of luck this week with Detroit Mercy and Oakland. And
Thanks.
When we come back, we talk Panther men's basketball with Scott Warris and Coach Pat Baldwin. Stay tuned or tune into the Panthers Courtside Report.
The Horizon League Men's and Women's Basketball Championships invade Little Caesars Arena March 2nd through 6th with an NCAA tournament automatic bid at stake. Don't miss your chance to see elite college basketball action as all 10 Horizon League teams battle for conference bragging rights. Fans can reserve their seat by contacting their university box office today. For more information, visit horizonleague.com. Experience Motor City Madness at Little Caesars Arena March 2nd through 6th.
Hi, everybody. Welcome inside the latest edition of the Panthers Courtside Report alongside Milwaukee head basketball coach Pat Baldwin. I'm Scott Warris. Coach, let's jump right into this. Let's go back a couple of days. The matchup on Friday night against IUPUI. Great game, great crowd, great environment. Before we talk about how things unfolded with the Jaguars, let's go back the pregame ceremony for your 2 seniors, for Brett Prawl, for Alex Prawl. Pretty special night for those two brothers.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for a better opportunity for them to celebrate a great senior night for them and 5 years of being together and sharing all of these moments. And what I talked about with them and with anybody who would listen is that they epitomize everything that college basketball is about. They're great kids, they're tremendous students, and they're everything that you want your student athletes to be. And they're great teammates as well. But that night was really special, and hopefully they remember that outside of not taking care of business on the court.
We're going to talk with Brett and Al coming up in the second segment of the show, so stick around for that. Let's talk about how things unfolded on Friday night against IUPUI, Coach. A ball game where you trailed for a good portion of regulation, got to the tying point there at the end of regulation and had a brief lead in overtime before the Jaguars nipped you guys in the extra session. Just your thoughts on that one. You guys climbed the hill, got there, but couldn't quite close it out there at the end.
Well, I thought it was a game that IUPUI, like you said, I think they had, controlled it for the most part. They shot the ball well in the first half or second half, and we really had to scratch and claw to get back into the game. I thought we had our moments towards the tail end of the first half, middle to the end, and then in the middle part of the second half, we got back into the game and had an opportunity to win the game in regulation with the JB free throw line jump shot to close out the regulation, but just couldn't knock it down. And we were up 1 in overtime, and they hit a 3 and took the lead from there, and we could never recover.
That you mentioned that miss at the end of regulation by Jeremiah Bell, maybe one of the few things that didn't go his way that night. 29 points on 9 of 22 shooting, hit 4 of your 9 from deep. And again, as we have talked about, so many guys progressing this year and growing this year and taking leadership roles. JB, just when you think maybe he's reached his max this year, he finds another level, and that was another level on Friday night. Yeah,
we needed all of his 29 and Brett's 22, but JB has done a great job for us, and we're going to continue to put him in that role to be a closer and have some opportunities to get some things done. And he had a tremendous night, and we wish we could have capped it off with a win. But I'm excited about where he's come from, and I think there's even better basketball for him yet.
You alluded to it. Let's touch on, we talked about the seniors, Brett and Alex Prawl, but Brett Prawl, what a night to have your career high in scoring with 22 points. What allowed Brett to be so successful against what the Jaguars threw out there defensively? What was so key to his game on Friday?
Well, I think he was more engaged, and I think he was extremely active on the offensive glass and also just diving and rolling, after he was setting screens. But he was just a little bit more comfortable out there on the floor. I think our guys did a great job too. When you have a guy like JB who's really doing some great things on the perimeter, he was allowing things to be a little bit more open on the perimeter, and then or in the inside. And then at times we had guys on the floor that could all score. We had Bryce Enzi, we had Carson, and we had JB and Brock. So you had to count for everyone. And so a lot of times that left him open one-on-one. So, that just gave him, even more opportunities, and he was aggressive and seized the moment.
You mentioned Brock Stahl. He had a rough night offensively. They shut him out. Now, like you and I have talked about, that target on Brock's back has been there since day one.
Yeah.
This season, day one. And it's larger and brighter with each passing game, especially in conference, especially the second time around. What I thought was impressive anyway was Brock's ability to, okay, I'm struggling tonight, can't get my shot off. How else can I help? He had 8 assists.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I talked about with him is you always want to try to find a way to help your team win, whether it's through scoring, which we need from him, or other ways if you can't, if you don't get off to a great scoring night. And, to have 8 assists and not let that affect, not let not scoring affect him out on the floor was really big for us and keeping us in the game. But he has that ability to make plays, whether it's shooting, getting teammates involved, or certainly on the rebounding front, he can certainly do that. He's very versatile.
And oh, by the way, Bryce Enzi had 17 rebounds, one off the single game program record. Coach, we'll pause, we'll come back, and we'll be joined by those two seniors, Brett and Alex Prawl. That as the Panthers Courtside Report continues right here on the Black and Gold Network. Welcome back inside this edition of the Panthers Courtside Report. Coach Baldwin has stepped aside, and we are seated here with the lone seniors on this year's roster in alphabetical order from left to right, Alex Prawl and Brett Prawl. Guys, I appreciate your time. Let's dive right into this. Take me back to Friday night, senior night. Other than the game itself, you had the big ceremony beforehand. Mom and Dad were there. We'll start with you, Brett. Were you nervous? Are there butterflies? Were there tears? Did you cry? Take us through Friday night ceremony.
So I definitely didn't cry at all, but I was pretty nervous up until the ceremony. Then after the ceremony, I don't know, it kind of felt like a regular game after that. But it was a special night. I mean, we had a lot of fans there, and I appreciated everybody for showing up. And it just didn't turn out how, like, the end result wasn't what we wanted, but it was a good night.
Mm-hmm. Al, what about you? Senior night, you only get one of them. Yeah. What was it like?
Yeah, it was pretty similar to what Brett said. I was definitely pretty nervous going into it, but I was happy with all the fans that were there. Though there's definitely a lot of fans, and they were loud all night.
How many? Did you have a lot of friends and family there as well?
Yeah, a lot of friends and family. Yeah, so that made us a little nervous as well. But
I'm curious to get your guys, and we'll keep it with you, Al. The success that you guys have had on the court and in the classroom, and coaches talked about that a lot, because it's not easy to do both. What is the key to be a successful Division I athlete and being a successful student athlete?
Yeah, we definitely put a lot of time in. That's probably the biggest thing, is just putting the time in and studying for exams, and yeah, it helps for us to work together a little bit. We're in all the same classes actually, so we can work together on homework, and and also we study for exams together as well. So that helps out.
Brett, what advice would you give maybe high schoolers coming in who are going to experience Division I athletics with trying to balance the academics at the same time? You have done it so well at a high level for so long. What advice, is there a little nugget you would give those kids coming in to try to make them as successful as you were, as both of you were?
I would say definitely, it's just, like he said, more like a time thing. Like, you have to be prepared to maybe not go out every night that people are going out, and just be like more in the library studying and making sure you get all your homework done and get your studying done for tests and stuff.
Let's keep it with you, Brett, because the way that your career has catapulted from one year to the next, last year setting the single season program and Horizon League record for field goal percentage, and this year you're approaching the career field goal record. The work that you have put in, can you kind of reflect on that now and talk a little bit about the work you've put in to get you to where you are here in this senior campaign?
So I think Coach Jordan last year definitely did a good job just giving me confidence right away coming in, because before that I really didn't play much the previous seasons, but he definitely gave me a lot of confidence. And then just from the tournament last year, I had a really good tournament, and then that kind of just carried forward to this year. And I've just put a lot of work in the off season and continued to get better.
Al, we have talked about with Coach on a couple of occasions about the work that both you guys do out there on the floor, and I think in a lot of ways maybe some of the success that Brett has had is due in large part to the ringer that you've put him through in practice. I mean, and not only through college, high school, all the way up. Talk about the battles that you guys have had in the gym, in practices, over the years, college and before that.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty competitive between us two, and I try and help them out whenever I can, whenever I get a chance, and I see something on the court or whatever. I try and help them out and have them make an adjustment in the game or something. But in practice, I'm really physical with him, and he gets frustrated sometimes with the physicality. But I think it helps out.
What are some of those areas where you have seen your brother grow from early practices, maybe here in a Panthers jersey, to now, what and how it's manifested itself on the court? You know, you said you'll watch and pick out little things in a game or practice and whatnot. What are some of those areas where you've seen Brett really kind of take it up a notch?
Well, defensively, I think he's been really, really good. I think his ball screen coverage has been really good, and yeah, just I guess his physicality in the post too. That's all that I got.
Let me ask you both before we run out of time. And you've got the mic, so we'll keep it with you for a second, Al. How would you, when fans look back at the Prawls here at Milwaukee, you still got some games left, obviously, conference tournament. How do you want to be remembered? How would you like fans to look back on the Prawl era here at UWM? How would you describe it? How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, so I guess just as good team players, like just willing to do whatever to help the team out, kind of. Good students as well, I guess. Yeah.
Brett, what about you? Same question. You're going to have your name in some pretty special records by the time it's all said and done, but same question. How do you want to be remembered?
Pretty much exactly what he said. Just willing to do whatever it takes to win, and just being consistent, showing up every day, and just working hard.
Alex and Brett Prawl, working hard, consistency on and off the basketball court. I can't tell you how much respect that I have for both of you, and I know this coaching staff does, and so many fans do. It's been a pleasure to get to know you guys and watch you grow on and off the court. All the best. Still got some games left, though, right?
Yeah.
All right. You're welcome. Al and Brett, and we'll return with the coach in a moment.
The Horizon League Men's and Women's Basketball Championships invade Little Caesars Arena March 2nd through 6th with an NCAA tournament automatic bid at stake. Don't miss your chance to see elite college basketball action as all 10 Horizon League teams battle for conference bragging rights. Fans can reserve their seat by contacting their university box office today. For more information, visit horizonleague.com. Experience Motor City Madness at Little Caesars Arena March 2nd through 6th.
Back inside the Panthers locker room for this edition of the Panthers Courtside Report. And Coach, in that last segment, having a chance to sit there with Al and with Brett. And we've talked about it in a couple other venues, but you know, Al in a lot of ways has made Brett the player that he's become because of what they've gone through in practice, banging up against one another. And what those two guys have done, as you have alluded to, in the classroom as well as on the floor is really a great storyline.
It is, you know, to come from the same cloth, so to speak, and those guys have been exceptional in the classroom, and then on the floor. You think about somebody like Alex who was walking on, and now has a scholarship, and he's so unselfish. He doesn't get any of the accolades or any of the publicity that his brother gets, but he comes to practice and he works hard every single day, never asks for anything, and you just commend someone like that. And to do that for his brother, helping him get better, banging on him, and all of our other bigs, he's done a great job for us.
So there are just 2 regular season games left before Motor City Madness kicks in. And Coach, this weekend, speaking of Motor City, you'll be there. Detroit, 6 o'clock Central tip time on Thursday. Oakland, 2 o'clock tip time on Saturday. Let's talk about the matchup with the Detroit Mercy Titans. You got to go back all the way to that opening week of the season, the last time you saw both these opponents. Detroit, they've struggled this season, but with Chapman and company, they have the ability to be big-time scorers, and they're deadly from 3.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about when we first matched up against them, is their ability to score. And They're averaging plus 80 and per game, and so we have to do a great job defensively. Chapman is one of the best scorers in our league, so it's going to be, we have to defend him by committee. It can't be one guy. Prince is playing, really well. Jackson can shoot the three, and they have some really good guys out there on the floor. And you take away all of the records and you throw that out the window. This is going to be a tough game, and if we play defense the way that we have been lately, I think that we would be in good shape. And then on the offensive end, we have to take care of our business. We have to attack them and be aggressive, and we have to have multiple guys make plays.
Saturday afternoon, then the finale against Oakland, kind of interesting. You started against Oakland and you end the season with Oakland. Is there anything to be gained by having an entire conference worth of body of work to see the Grizzlies when you prepare for them, as opposed to when you saw them the first time around? You can kind of look back on the entire season, quite frankly, and see how they've kind of melded to where they are now.
I think with such space in between the times that we've played, I think there's some things that you can really learn from that. Maybe they've gone through some changes, as the season goes along that we need to adjust to, and it might be different than the first time. So, we'll have to be prepared for a lot of things, but also having so many games that have gone between, you get to see everything, and all the changes, maybe some of the things that they've stayed the same. But with a team like Oakland, we know the same thing that they have is a guy like Nunn and Hayes. I know Walker is out, but those guys can really score and put the ball in the basket. So, we still have a lot to contend with them.
As I said, it's the final weekend of the regular season, March 2nd. Friday, March 2nd, then, is when Motor City Madness begins, the Horizon League tournament in Detroit at Little Caesars Arena. Coach, and we'll throw up the standings here, but you and I have talked about it. It's a jockeying for that middle portion, the way it's played out of the standings, and trying to avoid that 7, 8, 9, 10, so you can, well, quite frankly, not have to play a couple more games. Last year was great, but you don't want to have to do that every year.
Yeah, I think right now we're in a slot and we're trying to hold that position. And the biggest thing for us is to control what we can, and that's winning. So when we play Thursday night and we play Saturday, if we take care of our business, we don't have to worry about, what other teams are doing. But, in the same vein, you do look and say, what, take care of them for us. But yeah, I think it's big too, playing, if the way that we're slotted right now, playing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday versus Friday through Tuesday, trying to get through the Horizon League tournament that way. You want that position and not the latter.
Yeah, there's certainly an advantage to be had. Only about a minute left, Coach. Is there a specific message that you give your guys heading into this final weekend, knowing what's on the horizon, or is it all pretty self-explanatory? And at this point, these guys, we've talked about their youth on paper, but at this point in the season, they're all experienced. They're all veterans in one way, shape, or form. Is that even something you have to address, or do they know the task ahead of them?
I think, first of all, I think they feel this time of the year, it's the last couple of games before the tournament. So I think they're getting anxious, and for what we talk about is playing our best right now and taking some momentum from these last couple of games into the tournament, so that we're clicking on all cylinders, and so it's very important. So we do talk to them about it and what we want to do to prepare going into the tournament. And obviously we want to take care of these first two, make sure that all of our cards are on the table with them, and then once the tournament hits, we can let it all hang out then.
Absolutely. So again, Thursday night, 6 o'clock Central, the tip time against Detroit Mercy, and then Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock Central time, the tip against the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. Coach, best of skill this weekend, and we'll do this again here before the tournament, okay?
Okay, thank you.
My thanks to Coach Baldwin. Our thanks to Brett and Alex Prawl as well. Thanks to all of you for finding us here on the Black and Gold Network. We'll look for you next time for the Panthers Courtside Report.